Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. We are October 2nd. October 2nd. It's freezing here in my office. I had the heater on for the dog, but I turned that off so we didn't have the noise. So how's it going this morning, Robert?
Good. We got a little cool front here in Texas, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's so the high today is only supposed to be 80. It was 58 degrees when I woke up this morning, so I'm making the most of this cooler weather.
I just changed Facebook to public, so hopefully everybody can see. We got a lot of questions going on already this morning, a lot of comments already. So we're going to dive in shortly. I'm going to wait for YouTube to propagate a little bit and let everybody know we are on. I'm going to mention this a couple times during the live, but somehow I'm a bonehead. Let me back up a little bit. Somehow I'm a bonehead and ordered two of these. And let's see if I can unfurl it here. Can you guys see that? The massive iron flag? Okay. I got an extra one. So the best off-topic question today is going to win this. I'll ship it anywhere in the world on my dime. So the best off-topic question wins a massive iron flag. And that's it. So me and Robert are working on getting a top 3 supplements on Amazon onto my website. We get a lot of questions, so we want to be able to have some points of reference for you guys to go to. So, all right, let's dive into the questions. Before we do so, just a reminder: any question is fair game. Diet, nutrition, supplementation, off topic. It's Friday, so hammer us with the off topic. If we miss your question, we're not avoiding you. Please post it up again. YouTube can be glitchy. And as always, the question is, who is that guy? Who is that guy? Who are you, Robert?
My name is Robert Chinetsky. I'm a writer, supplement consultant in the sports nutrition industry. Help companies produce content for their websites, do product pages. I also formulate supplements, do ingredient research and development. And do some nutrition and fitness coaching, and I'm a good friend of Steve. So that's about everything in a nutshell. I try to help people avoid wasting money on useless supplements like L-glutamine.
That's right, like L-glutamine. Robert is a roustabout, and he is a whiskey aficionado. He's also the owner of that annoying rounded door frame that messes with my head. Everything has to be rounded off or it messes with my head. All right, let's dive in. What do we got here? Dwight, starting off with the question. This is a strong one. Again, reminder: best off-topic question receive a massive iron flag. And for those of you that watch and don't answer or don't ask questions, I encourage you to interact. Do you listen to any music, podcasts, audiobooks during long runs? I have lately. For the first 18 months, it was kind of heresy to listen to anything other than the whistling wind in the woods. But after you've seen the same trees 7,000 times, I do listen to audiobooks. Sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook like an alien book series, some random story from the alien world. Or I have been listening to this lately, 80/20 running. But after a while, you kind of get the point of that. So, yeah, I kind of mess around. Last weekend, I listened to Danzig the whole time. The issue is a lot of times where I run, you don't really have a lot of 4G, 5G. Robert, do you listen to anything when you are working out?
Yes, I always usually listen to music. So for me, it's 80s or classic rock. So it's stuff like Rocky IV soundtrack is really good stuff. Any of the rock bands from the 80s, Van Halen, a little bit of Aerosmith, and then classic rock stuff, Led Zeppelin. I already said Van Halen. Who else? Some of the stuff, some Guns N' Roses stuff, but after a while, there's only so much screaming and high shrilly stuff you can handle. So it's most of the time that. And every now and then, like if Sandy's training with me, we'll put on something like some funk music, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, or what's the other band? Gap Band is another one. So a bunch of those 70s funk bands if we're feeling something a little bit more mellow.
So I got a quick Guns N' Roses story. Back in the day before they hit it big, They were on tour with David Lee Roth, opening up for David Lee Roth, and they got kicked off the tour. They weren't big enough yet then for anybody to really care about them getting kicked off the tour because they were a bunch of drunken miscreants, right? So they played in a gym near me in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and they had the sound system that was so incredibly loud, that was set up for the David Lee Roth tour.
Yeah.
Literally a minute into their set, my ears were stone cold deaf, and I couldn't hear shit for the rest of the next hour and a half. That's the only concert I've ever been to that completely left me absolutely deaf after a minute. Marco, greetings from Holland. How's it going in Holland, Marco? And we got Frank Fitness. Frank has been on a cut. He's one of my clients. And he has lost 21 pounds in 11 days and is down to the point where his cut ends on Sunday and the long, lean bulk begins. And greetings to your wife as well. Let's see. What do we got here? Tim Laubensheimer. Yo, what up? Yo. Favorite 80s movie, best protein for someone with gout. Let's start with the 80s movies first, Robert. You get 2 80s movies to choose.
Shit, man, I need like 15. So in all fairness, I was born in 85. The 80s, I miss the simplicity of the 80s at times. We knew who the main bad guy in the world was. It was the commies. We were going to tackle the evil empire in the words of Reagan and all that good stuff. I have such an affinity for all things 80s. I miss it. Rocky 4 is definitely in there. I could watch that movie all day, every day. Which it also came out the year I was born too, in 85. And then, shit.
Wow, I'm looking at the top 80s movies, top 50 80s movies on the Googles, and I'm like, where do you even start?
I know. Top Gun is up there for me too. I just that in college that was something special to the trumpet section at LSU. So, I mean, I think right off the top of my head, those are 2 of my favorites that I can just pick those up anytime, rain or shine, and watch those. Let me see what else we got on there.
We got The Thing, which is a classic. The Shining, holy shitballs. Full Metal Jacket is a classic. 2010, we have Aliens. Where do you even begin? We got Scarface, Mad Max.
It's a good one. Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi were both in the 80s as well.
Even some classics like Lethal Weapon, and for those of you that, man, I couldn't even begin to start.
Rambo.
I would have to hit Aliens too, and we talked about The Shining a lot. That's definitely up there. I don't know, man. The 80s, you tell me. So many good movies.
So many good action movies. Predator, Commando. Damn, man. I miss the 80s. It's when action movies were real.
Yeah, I got to go with Aliens and probably The Shining. I don't know. So, Robert, best protein for someone with gut. I think we hit that last week, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't really think there's going to be any issue with whey protein and an otherwise healthy individual. Just find a high quality whey protein or whey protein isolate. There's so many companies out there that make really good proteins. I mean, you could go with something as simple as Optimum or Dymatize if you want to go with like one of the old school legacy brands that you can find damn near anywhere. MTS Nutrition makes a really good whey protein. Primeval Labs does. Morphogen Nutrition, Apollon Nutrition. It's basically just find something that tastes good for you and you'll be set. There's a ton of high quality companies out there. I'm not going to play any favorites. There's a lot of really good proteins on the market right now.
So Tim also chimes in and says, as an Ohio boy who roots for Mississippi State, how about them Tigers?
I think Tim needs to get booted from the channel immediately. So last week apparently was the kickoff of LSU's football season. Thank God. I'm putting a pause on all sports for 2020 just because it's a sham. There are no fans the fan atmosphere, which is so vital to college football especially, is just completely missing this year. I was in LSU's band for 5 years. I was the section leader for the trumpet section for 2 years. So I have a very, very close connection to all sports at LSU. We traveled with the pep band. The women's basketball team went to the Final Four 5 years. All 5 years I was at LSU, and we played at the pep band at all those games. So I got to travel a ton. And to see that the fan element isn't as it should be, and they're not allowing tailgating on campus, I've just kind of said fuck it to the whole football, NFL, and college football season for 2020. So last weekend when we had our first game, my sister was actually in town, and we were touring some of the wineries, vineyards, and distilleries last Saturday. So thank God I didn't have to watch the game. I just saw the score afterwards when my brother texted it to me because he's an Alabama grad.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a big old asterisk next to this season. And for all intents and purposes, LSU is still the national championship from 2019. And that's just going to carry over until the 2021 season. So that's everything I say there.
Well, I would tell you, I haven't watched a second of the NFL.
Nope.
I tune in to check the scores to see how my Packers are doing. I also tune in to see what political drama is going on. And I'm not making a political statement or opinion or stance by saying that, but it's just one of those years. So I'm kind of just keeping my ear to the ground with that. I'm having a hard time avoiding baseball. My Brewers managed to score 0 runs in 2 playoff games against the Dodgers, which is about on par with their season. I'm not sure how they made the playoffs, but you know, early in the season, one of the players didn't want to play because of COVID, and it kind of pissed me off, you know, one of the Brewers players, because we don't get to quit our careers because we're afraid of getting sick.
Correct.
And I don't like it when athletes, rich, spoiled athletes, get a different set of rules, especially when we're paying their salary. I don't get to quit my job because I might get COVID playing in the outfield. You know, come on, give me a break, pal. So anyway, but I'm having a hard time avoiding baseball. So what I want to remind people is that the best off-topic question wins this flag today. And I'd like to hear who your favorite baseball team is if you follow baseball, so I can make fun of them. All right, what do we got here? Knowledge is power. Mike Leach is a boss with offense.
Yes, he is.
Who's Mike Leach?
He was the coach back in the day for the Texas Tech, and then he went up to Washington State, and now he's back in. He has landed in the SEC. So we have a whole bunch of characters in the SEC. We got Nick Saban, we got Ed Orgeron, we got Mike Leach, we got Lane Kiffin, who's a piece of crap. Just, you know, he's a little turd. So yeah, there are a whole bunch of characters that are going on in the SEC right now.
All right, we got my client here. Bear versus gorilla. Which do you think would win? Bear versus gorilla. I'd have to go with the bear. Those claws. Robert?
Are we talking about a gorilla from Planet of the Apes or just a regular gorilla?
Sometimes the bears will just take off running. You know, they look ferocious, and it's like a coin flip. 10% of the time they'll maul you, and 90% of the time they'll run. So
I don't know. That's
don't
really good.
Don't quote those statistics.
Let's go with the gorilla. Steve said bear. I'm going to go gorilla.
All right, bear versus gorilla. Somebody Google bear versus gorilla. Maybe we'll have to start a poll on Massive Iron to see who will win. I'll do that later. And then I'll post up a poll in my community section, bear versus gorilla, who wins, and no one will have a clue what we're talking about. Hello from Norway. How's it going? Massive Iron love. Yes, Massive Iron love. Do you guys hunt or fish? I spent enough time out in the woods. I used to fish a little bit. Just don't have time. You know, I just don't have time anymore. Occasionally hunted a little bit. Nothing crazy. But how about you, Robert?
I've not done any hunting. I have an uncle that has properties up. One's in Montana, one's in Mississippi. He's got all these little, you know, stands all over the place and camps, and he loves to. I would love to go deer hunting with him, but he does bow hunting as well. And then Sandy's dad is a huge fisherman. They live on Lake Pontchartrain in Louisiana, so he's always out there fishing. I've gone fishing with him several times over the years. I enjoy it. It's relaxing, whether you catch something or not. It's just kind of being out in the wilderness or on the water and just, you know, kicking back, drinking a beer or two, and having some fun. So I like both.
Where I'm from in Wisconsin, hunting and fishing is part of our life. And, you know, you often see in the media almost folks making fun of that lifestyle, you know, in the liberal media. And I'm not making a political stance. I'm not against either party. But it's just, you know, people that aren't in that environment kind of make fun of that lifestyle. But in Wisconsin, I lived literally right on Lake Winnebago, which is the largest inland lake in the United States. Huge. And fishing is just, you know, fishing and hunting is a way people put food on the table. You know, so it's just part of our culture, part of what I grew up with. Let's see, what do we got here? Marco, can you mix creatine in warm water? Yes.
Yeah, it actually dissolves better in warm water than colder liquids, just because of the nature of creatine monohydrate. And interestingly enough, a lot of the early studies on creatine, they were actually mixing it into coffee or tea, and that's how they were giving it to the subjects in there. So yeah, you can mix it in there. I just don't make sure it's not like boiling hot water, because creatine will degrade into creatinine, which is the useless metabolite or byproduct of creatine metabolism. So warm water, yes, but drink it fairly quickly. Putting it in overly acidic liquids or overly hot liquids, or leaving a cool liquid in a hot environment, like if it's 100 degrees outside, will accelerate the degradation of creatine and creatinine, which means you won't get any of the benefits of it. So that's why it's best to drink it relatively quickly after mixing it in warm liquids, or if it's going to be in a hot environment.
So back in the day when I was taking creatine, the big thing was to put it in grape juice. That's kind of how everybody thought you had to drink it, in grape juice. And Robert, I think I'm the guy that invented putting whey protein in coffee. I mean, I started doing that way back in the day, pun intended. And I found when you put whey protein in very hot coffee, it kind of curdles and you get these things that float to the top. Do you have any idea what those are?
It's just the protein glob. It's just the protein molecules globbing up together like that. But if you take one of those little electric swizzle things, or an immersion blender, and you do that and you buzz it like that, that'll take care of those things.
Yeah, I just assumed that that it was something nasty.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, we got a book question coming up, so I'm prepared. Jamie Mason off of Facebook. Good to see some people on Facebook on here. Do you have a base macro percentage when starting to get back in shape and fat loss? I'll share my opinion. Robert can share his. What I generally tell men is to try to get at least 150 grams of protein a day, generally just for overall macro balance. There's a lot of arguments in the industry, how many you should have, and people try to push it down lower, saying you don't need as much to build muscle. That may or may not be true in various cases, but number one, we need to be reasonable with our protein intake, not seek extremes. And number two, just from a macro balance, 150 minimum is a good goal. When it comes to fat intake, I generally tell my clients, try to aim for at least 25% of your macros from fat. If you are older, more carb sensitive, have a history of eating a lot of processed carbs, it might make sense to push your fat levels up a little bit and pull back on your carb intake just slightly, especially when you're trying to lose fat. So basically, the base structure is at least 150 grams of protein, at least 25% of your calories from fats, and fill in the rest with carbs. Now, if you're trying to lose fat, you want to bump the protein up a little bit, probably bump the fat up a little bit, and just make sure all your carbs are squeaky clean. Rice, quinoa, fruits and vegetables, oatmeal, that sort of thing. Robert, anything to add?
No, you did a pretty good job, a solid job on answering that. I usually don't go strictly by percentages, just because it can get, if you want to do something simple and straightforward, I just prefer to do it more, I guess, by a macro basis, by like an individual number instead of a percentage. It just allows for a little bit more nuance to the distribution of the macros. But in that case, something that's pretty well balanced and kind of hits all the things would be something like the 40-30-30 split. So 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat. That gets most people in the ballpark of the 1 gram per pound. At the end of the day, I guess it also depends on how much weight you have to lose. If you're very overweight, that's going to change how much protein, because you're not going to do 1 gram per pound in that instance. Assuming you're, between like 15 and 25% body fat, you can probably get away with the 1 gram per pound. And then after that, whatever other calories, I just tell people split between carbs and fats as you see fit, as you enjoy, and what brings you the most satiety when dieting.
Yeah, and when Robert says 40-30-30, if you're somebody that's taking in 2,000 calories, that's about 200 grams of protein, and his percentages on fats are pretty close to mine. So we're pretty much speaking the same language, just using two different roads to get there. Yep. Scott McEarleen from Scotland already, guys. Robert, how would you describe the main function of soluble and non-soluble vitamins It's assessment time. Condensed version. It's assessment time again.
Soluble versus non-soluble vitamins. I'm assuming that he's talking about the water soluble versus the fat soluble vitamins. Yeah, that's I've never heard the vitamins described as non-soluble, so I got to assume that they're talking about fat soluble vitamins. So the water soluble vitamins are the B complex family and vitamin C. The fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K, which means you need some kind of fat in your GI tract to efficiently absorb them. Vitamin A plays a big role in eye health. Vitamin D is a precursor to hormone synthesis in the body, also modulates immune function, does a bunch of other cool things. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant. Vitamin K plays a good role with vitamin D, supporting bone health, heart health, a ton of other kind of things. So it's a lot to put into like a 30-second little clip like that. If you need something else, Scott, shoot me an email and I can give you a little bit more.
So, Robert, with the fat soluble vitamin, how does that work when you're taking a multivitamin? Just for the person watching, they're going to ask this question: how does that work when you're taking a multivitamin that has a combination of fat soluble and water soluble vitamins?
I typically recommend people take it with a meal, or at least with a couple of grams of fish oil to facilitate the absorption of those fat soluble nutrients.
Okay, because I knew that's where you're going, but I wanted to ask the question anyway for those watching. All right, I'm going to go first. Dave Argentino, favorite book or top three? I've read a lot of books, and I'm going to lead with a couple oddballs. Well, not an oddball. The Shining is one of my favorites. No Country for Old Men, that's one of my favorite authors, Cormac McCarthy. And if you like, there's some really good quality, brutal horror out there. There's a short little 200-page book called The Woods is Dark by Richard Lehman, and it's fucking weird. People get drugged out, they get pulled out of their car into the woods with all these cannibal freaks that just have sex with anything. It's one of the strangest fucking books you'll ever read. But it's just a weird horror. It's just a weird horror genre. And outside of those two are some of my favorites, just because they bring a lot to the table. And where are we going? I'm gonna do this real quick. Screen share Ruski. In the science fiction realm, the Rama series. I'm not sure if you can see that. Mm-hmm. Arthur C. Clarke. I absolutely love those books. They're huge, they're monstrous, and I can just read them start to finish. And there's the Gaia trilogy by John Varley, Titan, Wizard, and Demon. That's a very interesting trilogy. So I love those both. So how about you, Robert?
I don't know this is weird. Like, I will go back and rewatch movies, but I've never actually gone back and reread a book. And I've read tons and tons of books in my 35 years on this planet. I've always loved reading. I've just never actually gone back and read any book, which is kind of interesting. I do like The Shining. I remember the first time I read that, I was probably way too young to read it, but my dad, raised us on horror movies, so I've always liked horror movies. The Shining is definitely a really good one. I don't know. I don't have anything else aside from those. I mean, I read it. I read the entire Star Wars expanded universe before Disney came and took over and fucked everything up. I've really enjoyed all of those. Something I'm reading right now is The Gentleman in Moscow, which is something one of Sandy's faculty members recommended to her. I'm reading through that right now, and I'm really enjoying that.
Speaking of books, don't go anywhere, kids. Speaking of books, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, these two books right here, I would appreciate it if you would buy. This one right here, Massive Iron, is not the same as the ebook. It's got like 100 pages of extra content. This right here is a monster of information. It's just the best articles from my old website, muscleandbrawn.com. It's just a treasure trove, everything from Smoloff to German volume training. It's just got tons of great information on some of the classic workout programs. So check those two books out. Whoops, they're about to fall. And
I was going to say, if you like history, I've read the entire history of the five families from New York. It was written by one of the guys that actually covered the whole thing when they were getting taken down in the 80s and 90s, Selwyn Robb. It's Raab is his last name, and it's called The Five Families. I mean, the thing is that thick, but I mean, it's awesome. It recounts the entire history of the American mob. That's something that's always fascinated me, is the American mafia.
A little bit of trivia, and I'm not sure if I can mention. I won't name names, but one of my past clients shares the same name as his father, and his father was a mob boss in New York. And so when he first gave me his name, I Googled his name. He goes, he said something like, "I hope you'll still coach me." And I checked it. I Googled the guy's name, and I realized who it was. So anyway, just an interesting piece of trivia.
Yeah, and if anybody's curious, there's for people that are into conspiracy theories, and maybe it's not necessarily much of a conspiracy theory, but the New Orleans mob was kind of an offshoot from the New York mob, and was very heavily involved potentially with the assassination of Kennedy back in the 60s. So New Orleans is, an even more corrupt city than it already was.
And all I can say is Louisiana looks pretty corrupt from what I've seen.
Definitely.
Stan, have you ever been to a Guns N' Roses concert? I answered that one a little bit, and I don't think Robert has.
Nope, that was probably before I went to the concerts.
Scott, off topic, have you ever lost it when you can't pick the end of cello tape? We call it Scotch tape, I think, here in the U.S. Is that what you guys call it over in mighty old Scotland? Cello tape? Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Ever lost it? Yeah, I mean, seriously, when you like Christmas season's coming up, I'm sure we're all going to go through that. Greg Duvier, Robert, have you ever thought about starting your own supplement company? Robert?
At times, yes. And at times, with as much nonsense and hoops that people have to jump through, as I've seen, I've got a bunch of friends in the industry and other company owners that I work closely with. As much bullshit as they have to deal with, I don't know. I mean, I know I could do it well if I wanted to. I really enjoy just more of like the supplement science side and product formulation, as opposed to actually having to deal with all of the business and finances of everything. I could do it. I would probably want to bring somebody in that actually enjoys doing the financial side of things. I enjoy the product formulation and discussing and explaining the science behind the supplements, but I would need somebody that's good as far as marketing and label design, because I am not super trendy with graphics and marketing, social media, those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, Robert and I had tossed around ideas. We were going to do with D3 and K2, but that's right before COVID hit, and I got a little gun shy investing that amount of money. But you know what Ryan speaks to, I've been in the supplement industry forever as an insider. When new MTS products or the brands we worked with, Chris Jones and whatever, came in, we would have to sample them and deal with that. I've been in brand development for Big J's Big Line. I basically spearheaded the new brand look, which honestly he dropped the ball on. He spends all his time on social media and YouTube fucking off. Excuse my honesty, but he did. He took something that was golden, and then he would spend his time on YouTube showing himself, doing stupid crap. So it was a shame, but I put a lot of time into that brand. The time that goes in, I don't know. Your winters there, we ran in winter, and compared to Wisconsin, it seemed like spring. So I'll leave it at that. Ryan Grooms, ever think about doing the Appalachian Trail? Yeah, man, there's so many things I want to do. It's just a matter of time. One of the things I'm really trying to do, honestly, is pay off my business property in the next 3 years. And once that hits, semi-retirement hits, I'm going to sell it. We're going to go do what we want to do. So I won't give up this, obviously, but just won't do it as much as I want to. Dave Argentino, different favorite question. What's your favorite equation or equation set? Preferred statistical analysis. What's your favorite equation? Oh, my goodness. Robert?
Pythagorean theorem, the basis of everything. Man, that's a good one. I've never had somebody ask me that question before. I love math. My high school math teacher, if anybody's ever seen the old movie Stand and Deliver, my high school math teacher, Mr. Gomez, he always said he came from the jungles of the Yucatan in Mexico, which is actually true. But then he always said that he swung from vines and wore a loincloth. That part I don't exactly believe is true. But man, he instilled a love in math for me. I always liked math and science as a kid, but he instilled a love in math for me that I just can't explain. It's beautiful. It makes sense when other things in the world don't make sense. You always know it's true, and you can prove things in math, where in science, nothing is ever really proven. We just have evidence to one side or the other. There's just a simplicity to mathematics that I love, and I just, it's wonderful.
Math has its holes, but when it comes down to it, math and statistics, can reveal a lot. A lot of people don't know, but like math and programming and statistics are what, really I like. One of my passions in life. When I was 13, I would just spend endless hours programming in BASIC. I'd program simulations of NFL and MLB seasons, based off probability. And you develop equations like if the average batting average in MLB is 260, and you have a pitcher that batters hit 280 off of, then on his side of things, he has to allow people have statistically, if you have one card for him and one card for the average of the MLB, he would have to give up a 300 batting average on his card, where the season average for the MLB is 260. And then you'd have to subtract team stuff, and then that would bring an average of 280. It's complicated, but anyway, like I would spend my teenage years developing statistical recreations of baseball seasons. So I love statistics. I first got into statistics trying to figure out the probability of rolling 2 six-sided dice, what the exact probability was. And I would spend hours rolling these dice. And then one day it hit me what the probability was of rolling a 1 would be 1 in 36. Rolling a 3 would be 2 in 36. Rolling a 4 would be 3 in 36. And then it all fell into place. That's those early years I fell in love with statistics and probability. My favorite equation is, and I'm surprised I even remember that shit. My favorite equation was in physics. My professor walked in one day and spent the whole class proving 1 equals 0, and it worked. So math definitely can have some holes if you finagle it, but
Yep.
that answer to that question probably drove off half our audience. Thank you. Julian08. And I'm going to say one of the reasons why I love baseball is because of the numbers. Like when I see baseball, it's a world of statistics and math for me. So,
do you find it funny that in baseball you can basically only be successful 1/3 of the time, and that gets you in the Hall of Fame? I mean, you basically are flunking. Any other course of life, you would be failing. A 333 hitter is considered Hall of Fame material in baseball. But if you had a 333 percentage in any other avenue in life, you would be considered a failure and have to be shamed into going do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, baseball is one of these weird things where you can almost engineer. I mean, statistically, like if you look at Moneyball, you can almost engineer success. Righty versus lefty shifts. It's a game of inches where a player hits a ball, what a player does when it's 2-1 count versus 1-2 count. I mean, I can't fathom, what the teams are doing behind the scenes statistically to predict where and when. And you look at like batting averages going down, and everybody's like, oh, it's a function of, players are swinging for the ball, et cetera. But I would say a part of that equation in Major League Baseball is the fact that we're getting better with training, so pitchers can toss it a little bit harder.
Yep.
And statistically, unlike any other sport, you can predict outcomes more than any other sport.
Yeah, I love baseball. I grew up playing. That was my sport of choice growing up, in addition to taekwondo, obviously. But yeah, team sports, baseball was my jam.
And I'll say I played catcher for 12 years, and it sounds silly, but I was one of those players that everybody recruited every year. I could hit the living shit out of a baseball. So Julian08, advice on returning back to the gym after a year break. Number 1, Julian, hire me as a coach. Head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. I'd be glad to help you. It's only $80 a month. After returning to the gym from a year, go slow the first month. Just go slow. The first 2 weeks, the first week I tell people just go twice the first week. Break it in, get a movement pattern in. Don't go heavy. Just get a feel for everything. Week number 2, maybe go 2 to 3 times. Move up 10% in weight. Weight 3, move up again and 10% in weight. Just go slow. Maybe by week 4, you can get to the point where you're trying to focus on progression. So get your diet in check too. Do you think there is life in the clouds over Venus? Probably not. I think we're chasing a lot of life locally, and the statistical probability that there's life close to us is probably bad unless some rocks flew off Earth and spun towards Venus, or unless people have been seeding, advanced civilizations have been seeding the universe since before time began. Robert?
No, but I do believe there is life in other solar systems and galaxies. I think we are probably the only life in our solar system, only intelligent life. I'll put it that way. Sure, there might be some plants or some other kind of like microbes or something over Venus or some kind of fungus. But I'm going to say intelligent life. I think we are kind of it for our solar system, but I'm not going to say that there's no other intelligent life out there in the cosmos that are.
I'm a little bit, when it comes to all the alien stuff, I come from more of a pragmatic side. I think our prime directive as a species is to reproduce. And if we were truly taking that seriously, we would have seeding programs where we would develop things that would just be able to track and shoot out across infinity and search for environments where we could actually seed bacteria and start life. So I think advanced civilizations would be likely to do that. More advanced civilizations would be likely to put out some kind of self-replicating life that could sustain on minimal materials, maybe replicating microbots or things like that. Different scales and levels that we think on, if that makes sense. Jamie, boy, statistics and alien replication, alien seeding. What more we're going to have today? Jamie Wadsworth is training each body part twice a week with heavy weight, low reps, and lightweight with high reps. Is training each body part twice a week with heavy weight, low reps, lightweight with high reps. Is that a viable method? Yes. Robert, I'm going to let you start on this one, and I might just fill in the cracks.
Yeah, I think training body parts twice a week with a mix of heavy weights and light. I'm not going to say light weights because when people say light weights, that always makes me think of like pink dumbbells, and people really aren't trying that hard. They're just trying to like chase the burn. I'm going to say lighter weights, but even with those lighter weights, you want to train you want to take those weights to failure. So if you're failing at 12 reps or 15 reps or even something as high as 20 or 25 reps, use a span of rep ranges, because we've seen from the research side that using a broad spectrum of rep ranges, God damn, I can't talk today. A broad spectrum of rep ranges, there we go, leads to greater hypertrophy than just sticking in one little narrow band of reps for the entire time that you're training. Plus, it helps alleviate some joint issues. I mean, you're not going to want to go and do skull crushers for 4 to 6 reps or bicep curls for 6 reps. That's just going to irritate the shit out of your elbows and lead to tendonitis and other potential issues. So certain exercises lend themselves to heavier weights, lower rep ranges. Other exercises lend themselves better to more moderate or lighter weights compared to your heavier weights and higher rep ranges. So yes, a mix is good for gains and for joint and injury prevention.
When I ran the Muscle and Brawn website and forum, there was a lot of obsession with full body classic routines. Those routines had a lot of compound movements crammed into them, and that required a lot of rest in between sets. And let's be honest, a lot of these guys were lifting 2.5 to 3 hours a day. I would say at least 2 hours in many cases. And people would be amazed by that, but they had a different life. I mean, they didn't watch 12 hours of TV a day and then fill it in between with flicking their screens or whatever. So that type of program is possible if you have endless amounts of time. But when it comes to rep ranges and training, you start off with the big hitters when your fatigue is when you're feeling 100%. And by the time you're done with those first 2 or 3 exercises, you're going to go from heavy, and feeling energetic to, blasting your energy and strength reserves. And then you start to transition. So you transition from the heavier weight to the lighter weight, and from compound movements to isolation movements. And obviously you can do that over the course of a week. And an upper lower split, you can mix them up a little bit. If you're doing a bro split, that's the way you do it. But if you're just programming a full body, you got to do that as well. Start with your compounds and then move on to your isolations. So a good amount of rep range is a good exercise selection. Don't want to beat up your joints. So yes, that's a good way to train. Red Dawn, forgot about that one, 80s movie. I don't think Trump really got the virus. Do you? Who knows? I mean, does anybody really know? I mean, I don't see why they would lie about that, but I don't really want to get into that today. And I appreciate the question, but there's so much crap going on in the U.S. With spy versus spy right now. So who knows? 80s movies for action got to be Commando. Commando is definitely a classic. Yep. Chris Sender, do y'all think? Oh, Robert, you're going to get this one first. Do y'all think Natty or Not videos are a waste of time or necessary to keep people's expectations on point? I got some opinions on this, but I'll let you lead, Robert.
I'm going to do a point of order first, and this isn't against Chris. This is against, I guess, maybe a lot of people that aren't from the South that try to spell y'all. It's not Y-A''LL, it's Y''ALL, because it is y'all is a contraction of you all. So the apostrophe needs to be shifted over one letter there. That's
Chris might be from some area where they say y'all.
Maybe so. That could be so, but I've noticed a lot of Midwesterners and Northerners mess that up just because at LSU we had a bunch of people from New York, California, all over the place that were in band with us on music scholarships, and they could never say y'all right. They'd always go use guys or you guys or something, or dudes.
Use guys. That's what we say in Wisconsin. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, so y'all is Y''ALL. Anyway, I think those videos are a massive waste of time. I don't watch them. I don't give into any of that shit. I could not care less if somebody's natty or not. The only issue I would have with somebody claiming natty status, and they're obviously not, is if they're trying to sell you some kind of snake oil supplement or training program or give you some kind of bullshit diet advice.
As somebody that's worked in this industry a long time, I can tell you when you make a natty and not video, it's going to get you 1 billion views. It will. So it's you have to understand that. That's one part of the equation. So the smart people know this. They know the first time they make a natty or not video, it's going to get them 1 million views. I could do that stuff if I wanted to. Maybe I'd even be over 100,000 subscribers, but I'm not going to do it. And I think it speaks to the integrity. There's another aspect of it, which is respect for the iron. I come from an era where you respect the iron, you respect the lifter, and unless somebody's lying, positioning themselves as natty when they're a buffoon and they're not, then that type of person deserves to be roasted. But outside of that, you just respect the accomplishment, and it's a game I don't believe we should get into. But does it help people and their expectations? Absolutely, it does. I mean, you have no idea when I got in this industry, and I would say this is kind of the natural expectation. This is kind of natural potential. I was one of the first voices back in the day to discuss natural potential, and I was hammered like a nail every fucking week. I mean, just every fucking week, because people believe if you train hard enough, you can get as big as you want. And I'm like, no, you can't. Natural physiology, pound, pound, pound. Shaw's a fucking idiot. That was before everybody else got on the education train. But now we're in an era where I think most people understand natural expectations, and I mean, these videos are not necessary in the modern era. If you really believe you can get like Jay Cutler if you just train hard enough, you're a fool. I mean, you are. Let's be honest. And if you need a Natty or not video to tell you can't, um, deadlift 1,000 pounds, you're a fool. You're just a fool. So I don't know. Do they help people? Sure, they help people. But there's a lot of other information out that we need to propagate and talk about, like natural expectations. And it's a lot easier to talk about that in this day and age without being pounded. But man, back in the day, I was everybody's favorite nail. Back in the day, I used to talk about natural potential, and I used to talk about how frequency training was viable, and I got pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded. So these days, when I look at ideas and concepts and try to bring the same thing to the table, saying in 5 years, y'all are going to look back at your obsession with intermittent fasting and look and feel like a fucking idiot. People are like, oh no, that's not how it'll be. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how it'll be. I lived through all that stuff. So anyway, I hope that helps. Hector L. just got here, but the movies are awesome. Welcome to the party. Ben on Adventures. There are some classics right there. You can't go wrong with Jones and Empire Strikes Back.
Absolutely.
And Robert, you mentioned earlier about going back and reading a book. I find it interesting to go back and read books or watch movies that I haven't seen in like 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. 2 days ago, we watched the Johnny Depp movie where he's a writer. It was a Stephen King book.
Yeah, Secret Window.
Yeah. Yep. We went back, and it got like a 6.6 rating on Internet Movie Database or whatever. Mm-hmm. We watched it, and it was a steaming pile of shit, the movie. It did not hold up over time. It did not hold up well. It was just bad. It was bad. If it came out today, it would be the bomb of all bombs. So, anyway.
Does Fiona like horror movies as much as you, Steve?
Oh, yeah. We I think 70% of the time we're watching a movie, we're watching the horror movie. So
that's awesome.
I'll give you a recommendation. This isn't, if you like 80s stuff, go out and watch the movie Rent-A-Pal, okay?
Write that down.
It is completely slathered in 80s, and it is well acted. It's not a classic crazy horror movie where the killer is it's this guy that loses his mind taking care of his mom, and he interacts with this VHS tape of this guy who's a Rent-A-Pal. This dude's so lonely. It's well made, it's entertaining, and it's worth watching. Rent-A-Pal. It won't be for everybody, but it's a good movie. Frank Fitness. Do you guys follow ice hockey? I have family in Canada. I'm from Wisconsin, man. We love hockey. It's we love hockey. I was close to Canada. I love hockey. I always wish Wisconsin had a team. I never could stand following Minnesota. Fuck Minnesota. We hate Minnesota. So I kind of followed the Chicago Blackhawks or the Buffalo Sabres for a long time. Robert, do you watch hockey at all? I got to tell you before you answer that, watching it live, just a fun sport. It's never a bad game watching it live, even if it's 5-0.
Yeah. Growing up, obviously, so the Mighty Duck movies came out when I was a kid. So I think the first one came out in 1990 or 91, and then D2, The Mighty Ducks, was 92 or 93. So I loved watching those movies as a kid. We played roller hockey in the street. Obviously, Louisiana, we don't have ice hockey rinks, and it doesn't snow, maybe once every 10 years or something. So we played, on rollerblades. We played hockey in the street a lot. So I grew up playing that basically every Saturday and Sunday with kids in the neighborhood. So yeah, I love hockey. The Red Wings were really good when I was a kid. So that was the team I kind of gravitated towards watching, with Sergei Fedorov leading the team. And Patrick Waugh, and then against the Avalanche, who they'd always have to go against. Mario Lemieux was always around with the Penguins when I was a kid. So I follow it casually, not as much as I used to. And we had a minor league hockey team when I was a kid called the New Orleans Brass, and so my dad would take us to hockey games several times a season. So yeah, I love watching hockey and just playing it. It was fun playing it too.
Yeah, I kind of equate minor league hockey to college football. It's like a sport that is just super fun.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of changeover in players year in and year out, but it's just fun. Like, I lived in Richmond for several years after I got out of the military, Richmond, Virginia, and they had a team called the Richmond Renegades, and I could go for $5 to a game and just watch, have a blast. It was so high energy. You can't go wrong. This Cincinnati has a team, but you got to pay like $20 to go, and it's a headache getting in the parking and all that kind of stuff. And then you have to deal with riots and all this kind of shit. So fuck that.
That's the other good thing about the minor league systems is that the tickets are much more readily available and much more affordable compared to like the college level or the pro level sports. So if you're looking for like an entryway or just like a family outing or just something you want to do regularly, if you're an enthusiast of the sport, is go support the minor league teams because those guys could use it.
There was a time, I would say around the time where I used to watch WWE a lot, in 97, 99, where I would watch a hockey game on ESPN almost every night. ESPN had hockey on a lot, and just a great era of hockey. My dog is busy on a snore fest. Could you just chill a little bit? We're trying to have a conversation here. Oh, sorry. All right. Jamie is an Indians fan. Sorry sorry. Just sorry, dude. That's all. Ramona, how much did I miss?
Everything.
Well, we got an hour and 8 minutes left at least, so have at it. I'm trying to pronounce your last name, Ramona. And last week I went a little bit crazy with our names, so I won't do that again. Okay, but Schnauzenheimer. All right,
Schnauzaval.
Yeah,
Schnauzaval. That's a man. My last name is Shanetsky, but Schnauzaval. That's a whole other ball game you're dealing with.
Schnauzaval. That would be a good MMA fight right there. Yeah. All
it.
right. Ben on Adventures. Lane Kiffin is hilarious. And let's see. Bear, guilty. Indians, what is going on with you folks? What is going on? Look, you gotta love fans of a team that suck perpetually. You just do. It's disheartening. Look, my Brewers, when I was young, my Brewers 79, 81, 82, we had some good players, we had some good teams. And then for like 20 years, 25 years, it was nothing. So I get it. Watching those struggle bus teams. But beautiful thing about baseball is a 162-game season. Even if your team sucks, you have 60 glorious games where they destroyed their opponents. So when is the best time in the day to take creatine and BCAAs, or does it matter?
BCAAs do not matter. You do not need to take BCAAs whatsoever if you are consuming enough high-quality protein sources throughout the day. So if you're getting around 1 gram per pound from high-quality sources like whey protein, beef, eggs, chicken, pork, turkey, fish, shrimp, all that kind of good stuff, you don't need BCAAs. If you just want to drink BCAAs because they taste good and it helps you get your water intake in them, that's fine. Just don't expect any magic benefits from BCAAs. Creatine, as long as you're getting your 5 grams a day, it doesn't really matter. If you want to be optimal, there's a good argument to be made for the post-workout window when insulin sensitivity is high, and muscles are more receptive to nutrients and they're willing to soak up anything and everything you throw at them. Typically, you also have higher carbs right after training, and that will help facilitate the absorption of creatine into the muscle tissue by way of improving insulin levels and all of that good stuff. So optimally, post-workout, but it really doesn't matter. You could take it upon waking if you wanted to.
So, Robert, would that apply to somebody that does intense cardio on off days? Would that be best to take their creatine on off lifting days after they do their cardio?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go for even like a 10-minute walk, improves insulin sensitivity and potentiates, insulin sensitivity in the body. So yeah, anytime after exercise would be a good time to take it.
So after sex as well?
Sure, if you get your heart rate up high enough and you expend enough glycogen, yeah.
So we just opened a few doors for people. We just opened a few doors, and that's what we're about. Keep that shaker cup handy, folks.
Oh, my goodness.
Post-workout sex nutrition. All right, post-sex. All right, Redline Fitness working, listening while working. I hope you guys aren't working too hard on this Friday. Sebastian, thoughts on 30-plus sets of bench press per week? Really seems to work for my friends. No. He's going to wake up one day and he's going to wish he had not done that. In the short term, anything can work, right? But like we talk a lot about junk volume. There's got to be a lot of junk volume in there. There's got to be. And here's the thing, and then I'm going to let Robert jump in. Just because something works doesn't mean it's optimal. And I'm going to repeat that. Just because something works doesn't mean it's optimal. You can do a lot of things as a early beginner to intermediate lifter. And look, you're working hard. This dude's working hard. I guarantee this dude could get the same results on 20 different programs. So you need to understand that. He's busting his ass right now, but he is busting his ass on a suboptimal program that's not well balanced. This dude could get results on any program, and probably, I would argue, better results on a reasonable program. Robert, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, he could probably cut his volume in half or to a third, so to where he's doing like 10 to 15 sets a week, and be fine. 30 sets, if you're able to handle 30 sets a week, that leads me to believe that a majority of those sets are not very challenging. Half of those sets are dick around sets, just getting you tired. Because if you do like 3 or 4 really hard sets of bench press where you're taking them to failure or within a rep of failure, you're not going to be able to do that 30 times in a week. You're just not going to be able to unless you're on a tremendous amount of special sports supplements. So yeah,
no,
that seems like an obnoxiously high amount of volume. Maybe it's working for him, but I'm inclined to believe that a lot of those sets aren't really high quality sets.
This is a really important point, and one I probably should make a video on. This is where part of the confusion is in the industry. Guys that are working super hard, and I talk a lot about people aren't working hard enough. Guys that are working super hard, the top 1%ers, they can take the biggest steaming pile of crap and get the most out of it because they're riding the edge, right?
Yep.
So therefore, this steaming pile of crap program they're doing all of a sudden gets elevated into this viable option because they're getting something out of it, when in reality, they're just knuckleheads that are outworking everybody else. Does that make sense? Man, I got to write that down because that's a good video topic. All right, what's your guys' opinion about sugar substitutes, Stevie and Walden Farms? Robert, normally I'm going to toss this over to you, but I just want to talk real quick about Walden Farms. Is it a better option than plowing sugar-based sauces? Probably. But look, there are so many ways to season food, okay? So many ways to season food. Hot sauce, light soy sauce, salt, pepper, all your seasoning, sage, all that kind of stuff. If you want to add creaminess to a sauce, you can toss in Greek yogurt. There's so many different ways to flavor and season that I am not a huge fan of concoctions like Walden Farms. If it works for you, go for it. But it's one of those Frankenfood things that kind of freaks me out a little bit. Robert, and maybe I'm just crazy and old. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Robert?
You are old, but that's fine. Are they better than sugar? If you're gonna, twist my arm and say you have to choose one, regular Coke or a Diet Coke, I'm gonna say Diet Coke, especially if you're gonna drink them with any kind of regularity. It's gonna decrease calorie intake, sugar intake, which has been known to have dental caries, plus blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance eventually if you overdo it and all of that stuff. I think in moderation, sugar substitutes are okay. We've got a fair amount of data on things like sucralose, ACE-K, aspartame, that they are very safe when used in moderate, low to moderate doses. To get any kind of bad effect from them, you would have to ingest upwards of like 40 cans of Diet Coke a day. And I don't see most people ever doing that, even in extreme circumstances. So I don't have any issue. I use them regularly. I give them to my 3-year-old. Just, if I'm mixing her, like she likes plain yogurt, but every now and then she wants like chocolate yogurt or strawberry yogurt. And I've got chocolate and strawberry protein powder here. So I'll take, I'll give her 3 or 4 ounces of yogurt and I'll put in like 4 grams out of a 35-gram scoop of protein powder. She's had bites of my protein bars before. So I don't have any issue. I'd rather her that than a mouthful of sugar of like regular candy or something like that. So everything in moderation, don't do anything stupid, be reasonable.
Yeah, when I was doing a lot of low carb cooking, I would occasionally use sugar substitutes. But back then, I was trying to turn my health around. Nowadays, the rare times where I make a dessert, or the rare times when I have a dessert, I just go with sugar. I mean, because it's such a 1% of my life that, it's a 1% of my life. If I'm going to make a cheesecake nowadays, it's going to be with sugar. Just because I eat it rarely. So,
right. Or like on Saturday or Sunday mornings, I'll make us biscuits from scratch. We're using a mixture of white whole wheat flour and regular white flour. I'm using whole butter. I'm not doing any kind of like Frankenfood. I'm using real sugar when I'm doing it because it's, it's a moderate portion. I'm not eating the entire 12-pan thing of that. So plus we've got good proteins, good fats with it, and all of that stuff. So it's, there's nothing wrong with regular sugar. It's not going to kill you. If I make an old fashioned, I'm using real sugar. I'm not putting erythritol or some kind of like fake sugar in there. It's fine.
Yeah, I might sound like a heretic or a hypocrite, but like I think everybody should, when it comes to white sugar and white flour, I use it, but I use it so rarely it doesn't matter. Like, if I'm making a biscuits or I'm making a cake or making something that requires flour, it's so rare. And I think everybody should live like that. That when they actually use white sugar or white flour, it's in something they're cooking and it's so rare that it doesn't really matter that they take it, so.
Yeah.
All right, Robert, who's your favorite drummer? I'm going to go first. No, I'll let you go first.
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, I like the old school jazz drummers. The rock drummers, I don't pay as much of attention to. It's the old school jazz drummers like Art Blakey. Who else? Who's one of the other ones? What's his name? John Bonham for Zeppelin was great back in the day. Buddy Rich was awesome. Max Roach. I listen to a lot of jazz stuff just because I'm a trumpet player. So I grew up listening to a bunch of old big band stuff, small jazz combos, Clifford Brown. I wasn't that much of a Miles Davis fan. I understand that's heresy as a trumpet player and as a jazz aficionado. Just he got way into cocaine too much, and just his music got really fucking weird. I like Dizzy Gillespie a lot, Arturo Sandoval, Maynard Ferguson, those guys. And so I was paying more attention to the trumpet player than the drummers that were playing the sets for him.
Modern trumpet players, Robert, check out Willie Waldman. He's one of my favorites. Not a major player, but I enjoy his albums. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because in college, when I was 21, and this was, holy shit, 1989, I had been, in the Ozzy Osbourne, Van Halen,
Black Sabbath, man. Yeah. Good stuff.
I mean, I was in that world, and I took a jazz course as an elective in college, and it was in the gymnasium. It was before jazz, I used to go into the bathroom and get stoned, and it's true. And then I'd go and listen to jazz. I mean, just classic jazz, not modern jazz. I don't like modern jazz, a lot of modern jazz, but I would get stoned and I'd pick up I just picked up a really intense appreciation for jazz. The drumming, and from that drumming, I started listening to new music, like things like the Minutemen, George Hurley, punk band, right? A punk band, but with jazz influences. Like if you listen to Mike Watt's bass solos or bass playing, or George Hurley's drumming of the Minutemen, it's like this is a punk band with jazz and all kinds of influences. So jazz kind of opened my doors to hear influences and other styles of music. And once that door is opened, it doesn't close. So I have to give a big nod to George Hurley, because George Hurley, out of this punk band arose this drummer that was enjoyable to listen to. So I'll leave it at that. And I don't smoke pot currently, so none of anybody's. Conspiracy theory that you actually believe is true. Wow, that's a tough question. Robert, did anything come to mind for you?
Yes, I actually believe that Steve is Natty.
I don't know, man. The Kennedy assassination, there's a lot of weird, wacky stuff on that. But the older you get, the more distance you get. Who knows? Since Rob mentioned Louisiana earlier and mafia and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a mob link with that one. I mean, if that one's almost been, you can't say proven, but I mean, it's damn close to being, pretty verifiable that there's some very close links.
Let's start with this stuff like Bigfoot. Hell no. Loch Ness Monster. Oh, hell no. Ghosts. Come on, get real. The eyes see things they want to see. All right, at night.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. I don't. That's not a conspiracy theory, but that's kind of, what would you call that stuff?
Myths, legends.
Yeah, myths. Okay, let's get back to conspiracy theories. I suppose I'm going crazy.
Is there a massive global cover-up to deny the existence of extraterrestrial species that we've been visited by little green men?
I don't look. Our government can hardly figure out how to, enforce tax law. You think they could keep that shit quiet? Oh, hell no. Come on now.
Yeah.
All this government, the government conspiracies are the funniest things. I mean, the modern, the modern thing with the child trafficking and what's his name, dickhead on the island that killed himself. That's an intriguing one for me.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy theory in some senses. What's his name? The dude that hung himself in jail. The child traffic guy. What the hell is his name?
Epstein.
Yeah, Epstein. And some people believe, there's some conspiracy theories being tossed around about COVID and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't know that I actually believe any conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I'm usually skeptical. I'm a skeptic. I need a fair amount of evidence before I really believe something.
The Kennedy one would be the one that I think I would probably, believe it's most likely to be true.
Yeah.
Damon Roman, love the Iliad and Star Wars expanded universe.
I like Star Wars. I forgot the Tom Clancy novels, all the Jack Ryan novels. I read all of those too in high school. Clear and Present Danger, Patriot Games, all of those. Executive Orders, those were great. The Iliad, we read the Odyssey in 8th grade, and then we read the Iliad my freshman year of college. I liked the Odyssey more. The Iliad, it seems like Achilles is just like moping and whining and just being a little bitch for a big majority of the book. And then it finally gets better at the end. But I like the Odyssey better than the Iliad.
I read them both, but don't remember a lot because that's how old I am. Frank Fitness, I've read Woods Are Dark. It's messed up. It is indeed messed up. If you want another weird book, I recommend Filth by Irvin Welsh.
Interesting.
And there's another one about in the 50s. What is that? I think it's based on a true story where this weird local family kidnaps this girl and keeps her locked in the basement, strung up in the basement. It's along these lines, but it's actually based on a true story. It's really, really strange stuff. Dave Argentino, for books, have you read Southern Reach series, Annihilation and the Children? I have not. I've not read any of those books.
No, I'm gonna make a note of that one. Steve, Is there any truth to the rumor that you like 50 Shades of Grey?
We tried watching the first 10 minutes of that movie. Like, we were really bored one night about 6 months ago, and we had an excess of beer in our system. So we're like, let's try to watch this movie and see how bad it is. And it was like What a pile of crap. I mean, 15 minutes in, we're like, oh my goodness, he has handcuffs. Ooh, deviants and free. Like, oh, there's a, and like, come on. I mean, what is,
Thank God I've never actually watched that movie or seen the book. I know, I think Sandy's mom read one of the books, or her sister did, way back when it first came out, but I've never seen that.
oh, how scandalous. She brought a blindfold into the bedroom. Ooh. It's like shit for 60-year-old women that, you know, have had no sex life or whatever. And
That's why Phyllis liked it in The Office.
yeah, like, get out of here with this crap. All right, Damian Margison. The VersaGrips helped a lot with my ladder sets. Thanks a lot for the information. Glad they helped. Glad they helped. One of my favorite things in the world is VersaGrips. Favorite things to have in your gym bag. Have you guys traveled a lot outside of the U.S.? I used to go way back in the day. I used to travel nearly every weekend to Toronto. I used to drive there nearly every weekend, 8-hour drive. Spent a lot of time. That kind of became my home away from home. And Australia, spent a couple of weeks in Australia, hopped through New Zealand. This year, spent a couple of weeks in Scotland. Absolutely love Scotland, and we'll be going to Wales in May. Robert?
Does traveling into California classify as traveling outside of the United States?
Oh, hell yeah.
I've been to Mexico twice. We've been to a resort down there, once for our 1-year anniversary, and then we went 2 years later for our 3-year anniversary. We went to Italy, and we've been to Canada to go to Niagara Falls up there. We stayed on the Canadian side. I think that's it for my excursions outside of the contiguous United States.
Just a reminder, best off-topic question receives a massive iron flag, and I'm going to let Robert pick it at the end of this live video. Yeah, I love I love Scotland. I love you know, I want to explore more of it. We are visiting Wales because we want to get a second home, and we're actually thinking, well, maybe after we retire, we might want to just move to Scotland or Wales. And it sounds silly. We're not anti-US, but we want some space. We're also considering, you know, Montana, South Dakota, Wyoming, just some space in our old age.
Yeah, if Sandy wasn't teaching at the school and if she didn't love her school as much as she did, we would have already been moved to Montana by now. That's how. That's where I'm at with everything. We would have been there at the beginning of this year.
After I got out of the military, I had some cashola, and I bought one of these old Suburbans that was like a tank, you know, 77 Suburban. You could put a mattress in the back. So I did. And I literally drove around West for 2 months with just my military cash, pulling up at KOA, sleeping on my mattress. And I ended up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is the panhandle of Idaho, real close to Montana, and spent a lot of time in Montana. And it's hard not to love the West. It really is.
Yeah. Well, everything except California.
Yeah, I did the Coast Drive, but it's all right. San Francisco, don't get me started. Just a filth city and expensive and homeless everywhere. I didn't like it. We went to, you ever see the Painted Ladies in San Francisco, the picture of the Painted Lady houses?
We were in San Francisco for like a 6-hour stint on one of the trips we did with Bengal Brass back for when we were traveling for the March Madness tournaments and stuff. But I don't remember. We spent most of the day down by the harbor and getting some of the delicious sourdough bread.
Well, you know, across from the Painted Lady houses, there's a park. And in that park, it was just a homeless camp, tons of drug needles and shit like that. I mean, the city is just a wreck. And, you know, considering most of the homeless, a good percent of the homeless are mentally ill, there's got to be a better solution, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Frankie, does obstructive sleep apnea affect the muscle building process and weight loss? First, I want to say something, and I'm going to take a pee-pee and let Robert finish. I'm going to go hit the bathroom. We're talking about this just yesterday with Alan Roberts and a few compadres. I don't think Robert was in that conversation, but neck training. A neck that is 17 inches or greater, has been tied to one of the major driving factors of sleep apnea. And some people will say, what if it's fat? What if it's muscle? I don't really think it matters because of the extra pressure in the area, right? So all this obsession with neck training, y'all might want to chill a little bit because sleep apnea is a real thing. I had it really, really badly. Does it affect muscle building and weight loss? Robert, I'm going to let you jump into that one while I hit the bathroom.
That's convenient. Steve's got the bladder of a 12-year-old.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah, I think it definitely could affect muscle building and weight loss by way of screwing with your hormones and your body's natural recovery mechanisms. So we know that, with the obstructive sleep apnea, you're not getting quality sleep. You're not getting that deep REM sleep. And any kind of sleep deprivation, even mild amounts, if you're only sleeping, like 4.5 to 6 hours of night, it really jacks with your hormones and your body's ability to efficiently metabolize the nutrients you're giving to it. So insulin sensitivity goes down, cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down, muscle protein synthesis is suppressed. Satiety cues are impaired. You're hungrier. You tend to crave higher sugar, higher fat, higher salt foods. So yeah, if it's poor sleep is going to be disrupting all of that, which is basically the exact opposite of what you want to do, regardless if your goal is fat loss or muscle building. So it's going to make you more prone to store fat, less likely to burn off that. It's going to hinder your muscle recovery, which is going to impair your ability to train harder and create an overloading session the next time you hit the gym. So yes, do whatever you need to do to get the sleep apnea machine addressed, whether it's getting a CPAP machine or losing some weight or a combination of the both. But yeah, disrupted sleep in any way, shape, or form absolutely affects muscle growth and weight loss.
And Robert, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this. Obviously, obesity is probably the greatest health concern we all face. But beyond that, I think sleep issues are second, because I run into so many people that have problems sleeping. So many of my clients have problems sleeping. It's foreign to me. I go to bed, boom, out. Even when I get up in the middle of the night, to pee 2 or 3 times because I'm old, I'm out right away. So it's foreign to me, but so many people struggle with sleep issues that I just think it's a major, major issue, and I don't really have solutions for people. I wish I did.
I mean, a lot of it's stress induced, and I think a lot of it we bring on ourselves because, and I say we in a collective spirit, not like you and me, we. It's just we as in like the general populace or mass of humanity. Is that we're addicted to our phones, we're addicted to watching TV or staring at screens, checking emails, checking texts, scrolling through social media. All of these things are little acute stressors, plus the exposure to blue light, and all of that's fucking with your melatonin, your stress levels, your cortisol levels. If you could unplug for like the last 2 hours of the night, and even if you're somebody like me that has a very busy brain, I don't jump on social media at night. I'm not watching TV. I'm usually reading before I go to bed. But sometimes I'll have an idea for work, or I'll be thinking about something that I need to do the next day. Keep a notepad by your desk or something and just scribble all that. Do like a massive brain dump at the end of the night, and that'll kind of help put everything at ease so that you know what you need to take care of. And that way you're already set the next morning. Hey, I've got my list of things to do, and you can start checking those things off, and that'll kind of give you a little dopamine rush and get you boosted and motivated the next day to kind of stay on top of your shit.
Yeah, I'm going to add to this that I'm amazed at how many couples don't go to bed at the same time. I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, if you're in a relationship, and it's so soured that you don't go to bed at the same time, it's confusing to me. But, when one person's staying up later than the other, that just encourages kind of weird sleep habits. One person tends to stay up odd hours. They don't have a habit or a routine together. I don't understand couples that aren't synced, unless they work opposite shifts or have special circumstances. But anyway, how can you all have adult time if you're not going to bed at the same time? And adult time is very important, for so many reasons, stress, sleep, etc. So anyway,
there's also some research showing that couples that go to bed together at the same time actually have deeper REM sleep and less disturbances in the night too.
Shocker. Well, your wife might disagree because of your damn sleep apnea, but that's James T. How much can you bench on the moon? Hint, it's whatever you can bench on Earth times 6. Well, we all can bench at least 1,000 pounds on the moon. That's good news.
There we go.
The calfless king. I thought that was Mark Lobliner, but when my brother takes the multivitamin fish oil, his stomach hurts, but mine doesn't. Any reason why? You, sir, are a mutant, and he is inferior. Robert?
Case in point. Good job, Steve. As we get that, I have nothing to add. No, it could be one of the mineral forms that's in there. It could be the high, if there's a high dose of magnesium in the multivitamin, that could be causing him some GI distress. I would need to see which multivitamin you're taking. Is he taking them in conjunction with food, or is it outside of food? Could he try taking it with food, and maybe that won't affect his stomach ache? Is it just a tablet multivitamin, and is it a capsule? Is it a powder? If so, what's in the powder? Are there other fillers in there? I need a little bit more info to more thoroughly answer this. I mean, it could be a ton of things, and there's just maybe you just have an iron stomach, and your brother's got a little bitch stomach. I'm kidding.
Yeah, there could be a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Foods he's eaten throughout the day. Look, I hope I didn't cut you off, Robert. But like some people will complain when they go from eating pizza and chips to eating something healthier that their stomach feels a little bit upset. The microbiome is kind of alters or changes, Robert, doesn't it, to your current eating habits? Is that correct?
It changes on a daily basis depending on what you eat.
So if you're eating, bad day in and day out, and then you eat something different, you can see changes. So, Robert, can I'm going to inject with something off topic. I just got my handy dandy third red monster. I usually only do that during these lives, but last week they had Apple Fest. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They had Apple Fest right outside our window, right? Literally that window is a park, and they had Apple Fest. And there's this lovely black lady, and she had a booth, and she had these little cakes in a jar. I'm not sure if you can see that. Sweet Jazz Treats.
Yeah. Nice tenor sax on the lid.
This is carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. It's sitting in my refrigerator right there. I have a refrigerator right next to my desk, and I can't eat it because I'm a fat tub of lard, but I just keep it there in case the zombies attack. So I'm just letting everybody know insider secrets. What do we got here? Beef Lewis. Hi guys, L-citrulline I purchased is 750 milligrams per capsule. Does that mean I should take 5 caps for optimal results?
What is that? 0.75 times 5. 3.75 grams of L-citrulline. The clinically studied doses on L-citrulline are anywhere from 2.4 grams all the way up to 10 grams. 3 is kind of like that bottom threshold amount that I would tell people. Yeah, that's kind of what you want to see as a base level on a pre-workout too. Anywhere between 3 to 6 really. So yeah, 5 caps is fine. In the future, maybe go for a powder instead, just because you won't have to choke down as many capsules. It'll be cheaper too, and you can buy more in bulk. Plus, if you find the citrulline malate, that also makes your beverages taste a little more sweet and sour, kind of like a lemon lime. It makes it taste delicious. Yeah, that's 3.75 is a fine dose. Anywhere between 3 to 6, 8 grams is perfectly fine. It's going to end up being a more expensive route ultimately for what you're having to purchase.
I just want to remind everybody that supplements are Robert's wheelhouse. Robert also knows a lot about hypertrophy. So if you have any questions, we got plenty of time left. Please drop them in the queue. Lindsay Spence. Have you checked out Doucette's content yet? I've enjoyed it, and I think you agree on a lot. I don't mind Greg when he's talking, mainstream bodybuilding stuff. I'm sure we agree on a lot. Anybody that's been training for a long time does. And I know I agree with some of his stuff. I make fun of Greg occasionally for selling $100 cookbook, but look, I wouldn't buy $100 cookbook from Gordon Ramsay. So it's not hating on Doucette. It's just a reality. But yeah, Greg's a big player in the industry. So you should go over to Greg and tell him to give me a shout out so I can actually get to 100,000 subscribers before I die, because I'm very, very old. Is it true that you guys in the South say y'all for a couple of people and all y'all for a bunch of people? I lived in the South for a while, and I found myself saying all y'all quite a bit. How about you, Robert?
No, that might be. So New Orleans is a different breed of South than like Alabama, Mississippi, certain parts of Florida and Georgia. Uh, I've never said all y'all because usually you say y'all that implies all because it's a contraction of you all. All y'all just seems kind of repetitive and redundant, and I don't really like repetitive things or having people tell me the same thing twice or ask me the same question twice when I've already done that. That's a trying task as a parent because you constantly have a 3-year-old asking you the same question or asking you what's this, and so that's an exercise in patience. Certain people might like the deep South, like the Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi area, might say all y'all. But typically, I'm the only one I just say y'all. I don't say all y'all. And I don't think most people from New Orleans say all y'all either.
I just bombed your screen, Robert.
You did. I thought the connection cut out for a second.
No, it's a little known fact. People don't know Cincinnati is really close to Kentucky, and there's a bridge. The Cincinnati airport's actually in Kentucky. So right over the bridge is a city called Florence, and that's the water tower. As soon as you cross over, pretty much as you cross over from Cincinnati into Kentucky, you're greeted with this huge water tower that says Florence, y'all. So, yep, there you have it.
There we go.
I'm real close to y'all territory. Dave, awesome. Never thought I'd hear a grammar lesson about y'all. I just said y'all, regional USA slang. Do smelling salts have any long-term bad side effects? This is something that's debated. I think with the rarity that they're actually used, I don't think it's a big issue. If you're somebody that's using it before every lift, like before curls and stuff, you probably have a bigger problem than, I don't know. I could say something really funny and bad here, but I won't go down there. Robert, have you ever heard any concerns with overuse of smelling salts?
From the research side, there's nothing to indicate that there are any long-term bad effects to using smelling salts. I mean, could you extend to the possibility that, say, hey, you are using the smelling salt to compensate because you're trying to avoid a deload or you're trying to work through an injury, and then that, by the way, could lead to another injury? Then the smelling salt might have played a role in that bad effect that you may injured yourself or something, but directly just doing the smelling salts, I don't think that. I think it would be a byproduct or an extension of you're trying to cover up, poor sleep or an injury, and you're just trying to grind through it because you can't take a day off mentally. I think that's where the negative effects from a smelling salt would be, not necessarily the act of using a smelling salt itself.
All right, we got Cowsy MC. Can you guys give me your opinion on advanced lifters recomping? Is it really as impossible as people claim? Well, first off, I'm going to say an advanced lifter isn't going to really recomp because they really don't have a lot of muscle to build. So if they are, you might as well just go on a cut. An advanced lifter really doesn't have any reasonable amount of muscle to build. So at that point, recomping is not really an issue. Just go on a fat loss, normal fat loss protocol. Is it as impossible as people claim? Not if you're in your first year of lifting. Beyond that, it's like, what's the point? I mean, here, listen. I hate recomping. Okay, here's why I hate the concept of recomping. First off, if you're obese, lose the damn weight. Okay. Stop worrying about how much muscle mass you're going to retain, lose, build, whatever. You're going to die, okay? Your health is fucked up. Lose the damn weight if you're obese. You train the same way, either way, whether you can recomp or you can't recomp. You train about the same way. So that's a given, okay? That's a given no matter who you are. You're obese or not obese. For the non-obese, you got 20, 30 pounds to lose. You're going to train the same way either way. Just lose the damn weight. Okay? Just lose the damn weight. Is recomping possible? Yeah, I've had a client do it. I had a dude come into me, David Ortiz. My gym's right over here. David would come in once a month. I'd help him with squats. David never touched a barbell in his life until he came to me. In 6 months, David lost 60 pounds. He ended up with 16-inch arms. He was squatting 315 by 10, benching 275 by 5. He was a beast, but I think he had some serious genetics going on, obviously.
Yeah.
But I have seen it. But it's like chasing a ghost. In the long run, you know, your cutting diet's only going to last a couple months. Why are you worried if you're going to recomp? What are you going to recomp? A fucking ounce of muscle? I mean, seriously. I mean, look at I'm not putting down you, the person asking this question. But if you got 20, 30 pounds of fat to lose and you're worried about recomping, you know, you're looking at like 3 months of cutting, right? Or 4 months of cutting. How much muscle are you going to gain during that time under normal circumstances? If you're not a beginner, right? Not a lot. Robert, anything to add?
No, I mean, you sufficiently crushed that question. I don't think it's not the fact that it's impossible. We've got data even in well-trained athletes that it's possible to recomp. Just the fact that it's once you hit a certain level of experience and training age in the gym and you've built a certain amount of muscle, the progress is going to be so slow and imperceptible to your human eye that you're going to feel like you're stuck in a plateau, but you're going to be very incrementally swapping out, you know, losing some fat and building some muscle, but it's going to be so small and so inefficient. You could accomplish the same thing by just doing alternating cut and bulking cycles. So why limit yourself and just grind yourself into the oblivion, just trying to make these, you know, stay at the same weight and constantly recomp? It's going to be most successful in newbies and people that are on massive amounts of special sports supplements. Just, yeah, it's very inefficient.
First off, if you're overweight, get the fat off.
Yep.
If you want to go on a long-term lean bulk, and you're not happy with the way you look, get the 20, 30 pounds of fat off. Just get it off. And don't bulk aggressively. A good long-term lean bulk should be 2 to 3 years of maybe a pound a month tops. And just commit to that. So I get tired of the recomping questions because people keep chasing some magic combination of fat loss and muscle building. And how do I do it at the same time? Get the fat off your body first. Just get the fat off so we can just move on to building muscle.
Agreed.
All right. Greg Duvier, is L-taurine a useful supplement?
Yeah, I really like taurine. It is a conditionally essential amino acid in the body, stored in the heart, skeletal muscles, and brain. It acts as an osmolyte, which means it's going to help your cells absorb and retain water, so it'll help hydration, endurance, fatigue resistance, muscle fullness. It'll make your muscles look a little bit fuller. You'll get some water-based pumps as opposed to like the nitric oxide pumps from citrulline. It also helps scavenge free radicals that develop during exercise and just general lifestyle habits. Supports cognitive function, stimulates GABA receptors in the body. So it could also work with caffeine in a little bit and help, you know, kind of harness the stimulatory effects of caffeine by antagonizing the GABA receptors, to where GABA is a calming neurotransmitter. So if you have excitation from caffeine and you get a little bit of a calming effect, you kind of get that theanine caffeine combo going on. It's also got some liver protective benefits. They've done some studies in rats with alcohol or ethanol-induced toxicity, and taurine helped prevent some of those effects and have a hepatoprotective effect, which could be useful for you if you like to drink bourbon or some other kind of alcohol. So yeah, I like taurine. It's good. 3 to 6 grams a day. Yes, good supplement, cheap, and yeah, a bunch of uses.
All right, Robert, thank you. Another supplement question. Could BCAAs or EAAs make up the difference of a potentially low protein intake?
They could. I mean, I guess that's what their purpose is to supplement a low or inferior protein intake. So if you're somebody that consumes a lot of plant-based proteins, those are often low in either the essential amino acids or specifically the branched chain amino acids like leucine. So yes, it could be a good complement to those. Would I say you should take a copious amount of them to make up for a low protein intake? No, I would say 1 to 2 servings a day. I know in one of the early studies on Extend, I want to say they were doing upwards of like 50 grams of BCAAs a day, which is just an ungodly amount. And so they were having a woefully low protein intake. So that's why you had those early studies showing that BCAAs led to massive muscle gain or help retain muscle better. It's because the athletes in those things were consuming such a paltry amount of protein that the BCAAs were kind of stepping in place of the missing protein and the amino acids that the body needed. So yes, it could. I don't think it's a good long-term play though, just because of the spike, the amount, the duration of the elevation in protein synthetic rates in the body are lower. So they're acute acting, but then they drop off quicker than whole food protein sources, which offer a little bit more sustained boost in protein synthesis rates in the body.
Thanks, Robert. We got Joseph G. I cut out a white flugger. I cut out white flour and sugar from diet, and I'm losing a pound or 2 a week. I'm at 20% body fat. How fast should I expect to lose body fat? 1 or 2 pound a week is good. One's a little bit slow. I mean, really, when it comes to a cutting diet, you get into discussions about rate. And look, most people I coach, even with accountability or coaching, struggle to be consistent. I got this going on this weekend. I got that going on next weekend, all that kind of good stuff. So, we kind of put ourselves in this bodybuilding where we're like 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week. And that's great if you can be super consistent. But if you're down around 1 pound a week, you might want to speed that up a little bit. Just so you can help smooth out those times when you're not as consistent. How fast should I expect to lose body fat percentage? The more you lose, the faster your body percentage drops. So I'll just leave it at that. Robert, anything to add?
Nope. Solid answer, Steve.
All right. Mehmed Ajik says J. Okay. I will counter with P. All right, Ramona. All right, here we go. First off, Ramona, great haircut and tattoo. So you got. I'm trying to figure out what that tattoo is. So we need a picture. We need some explanation. Looks like a cool tattoo. All right, Ramona, pronounce it, Robert. Now see fall. Schnauzzi fall. Did I do good?
Works for me.
All right. Bennett Adventures, minor league hockey is a blast. We have the Toledo Walleye. That's such a minor league hockey name.
That's awesome.
And the Fort Wayne Comets. That's awesome. Redline Fitness watches the Tigers. They've had some good teams over the years. Back from my era, they had some really good teams. I remember Jack Morris and Alan Trammell. Chris Sender, thanks for the answer, and sorry about the all. I'm an Aussie that's clearly failing at your language. I know a lot of Aussie slang because of my wife.
It's all good, Chris. That was more of just a mini soapbox that I've been waiting to get on for a couple of years now.
Who won the World Hockey Championship 2019? Finland. Just a reminder. No need to remind the U.S. We tend to lose at hockey, soccer, whatever. We're good at losing those goal sports. Bennett Adventures, I'm a tortured Cleveland sports fan other than the Cavs. Yeah. Well, you do have Ohio State. That's a pretty big mantelpiece right there. Park McLean, favorite size chains to use for lifts, the big ones. Whatever. Man, it's been so long since I've owned chains. I can't remember. What are they, 5/8? No, they're not 3/4. Are they 3/4? I think they're 5/8. Robert, you doing research over there?
No, I was reading some of the comments ahead is what I was doing.
I don't remember. Maybe somebody else can chime in. Dude 666, do you think Chris Cuomo's 100-pound dumbbell is real? I don't have a clue what's going on. Anybody can chime in and tell us. I'm going to say real. 100-pound dumbbell doesn't seem that fantastico. Redline. How are you going to ask if that lift is real? What? I don't know what we're talking about. You guys are having some kind of a magical conversation. Can somebody fill us in on what we are discussing, maybe with a link or something? Ryan, ideas to utilize a gym membership in home gym, barbell, bench, rack concurrently. I've been running your A/B split. Well, legs are hard to work at home. Robert, would you agree? Not much you can do with barbell other than squats and goblet squats and Bulgarian split squats, curtsy lunges, and things like that.
Yeah, reverse lunges. I think you can. There's just less variety when training at home with legs. But I mean, if you're pressed for time or you don't want to go to the gym every day, I would save your leg training and maybe even your back training for the gym, and then do the rest of your stuff at home. Just because the back's got so many different muscles and there's so many cool back machines, just from the amount of different pullovers and row machines that you can do, pull downs, all that good stuff. I mean, you can build a really good back with, inverted rows, barbell rows, chest supported rows, landmine rows, pull-ups, chin-ups, inverted rows, all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's fun variety with the machines that you get at a gym, especially for the legs and back. Pushing muscles, you can pretty much take care of that with the basics.
Yeah, this week I put out a video about a simple superset that I do with dips and push-ups, and that I advocate for clients. And between barbell benches, close grip benches, dips and push-ups, you can get a lot of mileage at home. Yeah. And the only thing you're really missing is a dumbbell bench, a machine chest press, maybe a cable crossover, a lot of the little stuff. But the only thing I could say is if you get a set of dumbbells at home, you're pretty much golden as far as chest and shoulders go. Jess Arenas, I've been lifting weights for about 4 months now, and my elbows are hurting. Drop the weight and taking fish oil. I don't like dropping the weight, okay, because usually there's something else going on there. So, and dropping the weight is a recipe for weakness, and that's kind of the opposite of what we're doing in the gym. I'm not trying to get you hurt, but I don't always think that's the best option for the solution. Robert, any thoughts here?
No, his next two comments, he said, should I push through? And I don't want to take off longer than a week and lose my gains. You're not going to lose your gains after taking a week off. I mean, you'd have to take 3, 4, 6 weeks off to have any meaningful drop off in your gains. Check your form, do a form assessment with Steve or something to see, and what lifts are irritating your elbows. Is it barbell lifts? If so, maybe start looking for a Swiss bar or a football bar that puts you in a more neutral grip, or use dumbbells that allow you to naturally rotate your arms when they're moving. Is it the exercises? Are you just overworking the same movement patterns too much? Like, are you just benching the shit out of just doing flat bench all day long every day? Or you're getting overuse injuries that way. There's a bunch of issues here. So this sounds more like a consult than anything.
Yeah, and Jess, I'm gonna hop in here. I don't know if you're a male or female because of your name, because that's so. After 4 months, you shouldn't really generally be pushing weight that should stress your elbows, right? So it could be a form issue. I see some people that overwork triceps that get elbow issues, but that's generally with heavier weight and lower reps. So there's something else going on. I'd love to take a look at your program. You can head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. I'd take a look. That's the first thing we want to look at. Kind of tell me what weight, sets, and reps you're using. But I would be glad to take a quick look. Pork meat. The Star Wars expanded universe had a lot of nonsense, but the Thrawn trilogy is some of the best stuff in the genre. I've not heard of that. How about you, Rob?
Whoa, a lot of nonsense. I mean, there's a little nonsense in the Star Wars expanded universe. I mean, anytime you've got 30 plus novels in a series, there's going to be a few misses here and there. I wouldn't say there's a lot of nonsense. There's a little nonsense. The Thrawn trilogy is fantastic. Yes, they should have just made that as far as episodes 7, 8, 9. Just taking the Thrawn trilogy or the Legacy of the Force series or the Yuuzhan Vong saga that went on. Do any of those except for the horse shit that they put out for 7, 8, 9. All right, I've said my piece.
Well, the Star Wars universe is ripe for nonsense because, like, when you there's such a diversity in creatures and species that you could expand that outward and pretty much twirl as much nonsense as you wanted to. Mm-hmm. Where like the alien universe, we have such a limited people view of things that it'd be really easy to go off the rails. So interesting question and discussion, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Thoughts? Robert, I don't think we've had a green powder discussion in forever.
No, I mean, it's really hard. You don't know any way how the company. Well, first off, most supplement companies aren't producing these supplements themselves. They're getting the powders from a contract manufacturer, and the manufacturer's putting them in a tub and doing that. You have no idea how these greens are getting processed. Are they hot processed, cold processed, dehydrated? We have no idea of the mineral content that's what's lost or what's retained in the processing of these powders. Sure, you might get some fun polyphenols, flavonoids, bioactives, and some other chemicals like chlorophyll and whatnot, which could help support the body's natural detoxification pathways in the body. But overall, they are a big whiff for me. I don't think they could hold up any kind of measure to actual fruits and vegetables. I've been a big poo-pooer on powdered fruits and greens, vegetables. I think and if you look at most of the supplements on the market, they're all dog shit. It's 5 grams of reds and greens, and it's got like 48 ingredients in there. So how much you're getting? 50 milligrams of broccoli extract, 50 milligrams of powdered kale, 50 milligrams of collard greens. I mean, what the fuck is any of that going to do for you? There's not any research into the effectiveness of these things. I don't see them having much utility at all. Is it better than nothing? Sure, but I just eat your fruits and vegetables, people. And maybe one day we'll have a considerable amount of research showing that there is some magical, mystical, wonderful benefit to powdered fruits and greens. But the jury is way out on me. I mean, if you're putting some mushroom blends in there, yeah, I'm cool with mushrooms and some other fun stuff. But a sole 5-gram blend of powdered greens and fruits, I don't think you're getting much of anything from it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of greens powders at all. And for the people that say they don't like fruits and vegetables, 99% of you are just being lazy. You're just trying to eat 3 broccoli stems next to your chicken breast or whatever. There are many, many ways to eat, and there's such a myriad of fruits and vegetables out there that I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I really, really don't. I can give you a very, very simple way to add 3 ingredients to your rice that you really wouldn't even know are in there. Get some mushrooms, get some dice up, chiffonade, some spinach, small dice onion, cook that down, and you could just stick that in a damn blender and grind it up and just toss a couple of a couple of heaping spoonfuls of that into your rice, and you wouldn't even taste the vegetables. And it would add some micronutrients. So those that say they don't like vegetables, in my opinion, are just lazy. It's really easy. It's really easy to add vegetables in, and think outside of the box. I mean, most people that are saying that are thinking they're putting like 4 carrots next to their meat. I don't like to eat it that way either. I mean, I don't know about you, Robert, but
I love vegetables, so I eat them in copious amounts. They could be raw, cooked, steamed, boiled, mashed. Just don't give me canned green beans. Those are fucking disgusting. If any kind of canned vegetable is disgusting. And I ate my fair share growing up, and they're all gross.
Man, I'm triggered. Like, I hated canned peas and canned beans growing up.
So gross.
And then when I was an adult, I realized that's really not what they look like or taste like.
No.
Fresh peas taste so much better than canned peas. All right. Beef McLewis. The official report just came across my desk. There's no room for you in Montana. Excuse me. The official report just came across my desk and says, go eat a bag of flaming hot dicks. All right, next question. Jerry Cherry. I take melatonin and tryptophan subs to cure my sleeping problems. I fall asleep faster, but still wake up after 4 hours and can't fall asleep for 2 hours. Hormones are okay. I have a client like this, and it's I was asking him about this. I have a client in Germany that has a sleep issue and will fall asleep and wake up. So I did ask him that I told him to ask Robert what to take. What's the best sleep supplement?
Oh, it says cure my sleeping problems, but if you're still waking up, then obviously they're not cured. So that's the first thing. That's just nitpicking. I'm just messing with you, Jerry. That's me being a smartass. Sorry. That's a wonderful byproduct of the way I was raised.
No, but it's a little bit true. It's not. It might be better, but it's definitely not cured.
Right. Tryptophan and melatonin definitely can help with falling asleep. Staying asleep is another issue. Obviously there might still be some stress that's going on in your life that's causing you to wake up. If you can't fall asleep for 2 hours, what are you doing in that 2 hours? Are you just laying in bed? that's you listen to most sleep researchers. That's probably the worst thing you can do is if you can't fall asleep, get up and go do something. Go read a book by like candlelight or a low light lamp or something like that. Just get out of bed. Don't sit there and toss and turn. That's one of the worst things you can do for trying to fall back asleep. If after 10 or 15 minutes you can't get back to sleep, get up and go do something and then come back to bed. What you might want to check with is maybe a delayed release melatonin. Sometimes, melatonin goes through your body, especially if you go to bed and it's been a while since you've eaten. Try finding a delayed release melatonin, and that'll give you a little bit more sustained release, and it'll prevent peaking. Because I notice sometimes if I take a low dose of melatonin, I wake up after 4 hours, but then I'm able to go back to sleep, or I'll wake up after 6 hours and I'm wide awake. It's just a byproduct of the melatonin levels wearing off or coming back down in the body, and which it's going to lead you to wake up. So look for some kind of a DR cap, delayed release cap, or sustained release melatonin, and that'll help. You could also look into some things like theanine or KSM-66 ashwagandha to help sustain the sleep and take the edge off, get rid of some of the stress that may be helping, like playing into why your brain's a buzz in the middle of the night.
Thanks, Robert. We got a lot of questions to go through, so let's try to knock these out quickly. And let me know if you got to hop off, Robert.
Nope.
CC, great work, guys. Keep it up. Thank you. Deadlift, should I be training sumo and traditional every other week? This is something I think any serious strength athlete should consider, is training them both every other week for a year. I find that each lift will work. You have your hips, your glutes, your quads, all the things, your lower back. Sumo and conventional hit these areas differently. So I believe working them over the course of a year, you will learn a lot. You'll learn which one you prefer. You will kind of be putting two lifts that are two different flavors together, and you'll probably be a better conventional deadlifter at the end of the road. Frankie, thank you. I just got sleep medicine referral. I'm excited to get treated.
Be careful with that sleep medicine, Frankie. If it's an anticholinergic thing or an antihistamine, something like a diphenhydramine, which is what it's in, Benadryl. Some of the hardcore sleep supplements have very deleterious effects with long-term usage on the acetylcholine pathway in the body, which is your learning neurotransmitter. So do some homework on that and see which kind of a sleep med they're giving you.
Thanks, Robert. Dave Argentino, fitness question. When should a beginner intermediate lifter test 1 rep max? Generally not during the first year of training. After that, you can test it however you want. I have a peaking program over at my website, superlivingtoday.com. And if you're going to test your 1 rep max, why not spend 4 weeks peaking for it? You're going to test it anyway. Plan it, do it intelligently. And that way you'll reduce the risk of injury slightly. But there's no urgent need to test it frequently. I wouldn't test it more than a couple times a year. I mean, some people just can't stop testing it, and I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. All right, get ready for the country music reference. Can y'all teach me to do the watermelon crawl? No, I cannot. Robert?
I don't even know what that is.
It's some country music song. All right, sorry, sock. Hi, guys, top 3 supplements over 45. This gentleman's one of my clients. Top 3 supplements for guys over 45. I'm going to say beer,
bourbon, and beef.
Cigars. Supplementing, I don't know. Robert, go ahead.
Beer, bourbon, and beef. The 3 Bs. That's
bacon, Robert. I would go with bacon.
Bacon. That's a really good one.
Beef, bacon over beef or beef over bacon. That's a good debate. Top 3 supplements for guys over 45.
Here we go. Bacon over the beef, in that you're putting bacon on top of your burger.
With blue cheese and bourbon.
Yes.
Then we got a winner.
Holy shit. All right, that got off the rails in a hurry. Top 3 supplements for guys over 45. I mean, that's going to really depend on what's going on in your diet. Testosterone levels, hormone levels are starting to decline at that. Insulin levels are starting to, insulin sensitivity is starting to get a little bit poorer then. Cognitive function, depending on how you've been living your life, could start taking a dip. That's a tough one. Even something like DHEA could be good because it's a precursor to so many other hormones in the body. Could be good. Magnesium and zinc, because a lot of people tend to be deficient in those. Vitamin D3 if you don't get out enough, and I know they say that, but that's pretty much across all age groups. Those especially if you're training hard. A lot of those people tend to be deficient in those three: zinc, magnesium, D3. We're going to extend past that. I'm assuming 45, maybe you've got a family, you've got kids, stress levels could get a little bit higher. Something like KSM 66 ashwagandha could be really good, or a sensoril. For brain health long-term, Bacopa monieri, CDP choline, lion's mane. There we go.
Yeah, it's a very complex question because you could start with the basics like D3, or you could address common issues like sleep.
Joint health is another one. I mean,
I wouldn't really limit it to 3. There's probably a lot of things to consider.
Yeah.
Omar, any tips for someone learning the front squat and struggling to get into the front rack position? Not really sure. Are you struggling with your grip? Maybe you could clarify. Robert, am I missing anything here?
Any tips for someone learning the front squat and struggling to get, I guess, because maybe they lack the wrist mobility to get their arms up, back like that, or if they've got really big biceps, that could, it has trouble getting the shoulder flexion necessary to get up and there like that. So, I mean, you could have the straps this way and make it a little bit easier on the tendons in your wrist that way.
Yeah,
so if you use lifting straps instead.
I've always did it like this.
Yeah, the crossbody one.
Because over time, you get fatigued and you start doing this a little bit.
Yeah.
So
would you ever try the zombie squat, Steve? Have you seen this where like you put your arms straight out in front of you and you just have the bar going across here and you put your arms out that way, so it's like a zombie kind of pose?
Yeah, back in the day on Muscle and Brawn, I had a guy that always did this. This was way back in like 2009, 2010. I never tried it. The furthest I ever got into variations was the Zercher, and I was never really a fan of the Zercher. So
yeah,
it hurts. I don't like hurts. Manish, advantages of taking L-arginine?
None really, unless you're using an improved form like something called nitrosogene, which it's complex with inositol, and that's been shown to be bioavailable. But regular L-arginine and arginine alpha-ketoglutarate have extremely poor bioavailability in the body. They are metabolized by arginase, which is the enzyme that breaks it down. It doesn't really make it out of the gut, even when they've used dosages as high as 10 to 20 grams in humans. It doesn't really lead to any tangible, useful effect, and it leads to a bunch of GI distress, though. So you end up like crapping your pants, having bloating, gas, diarrhea, all that kind of fun stuff. So no, don't supplement with L-arginine. Go for L-citrulline instead, 3 to 10 grams.
Does wrist size ever increase? Yes. It can increase with body fat and it can increase with muscle size. Mine was 6.25, 6.3 when I was in college. And now it's about an inch bigger, but bigger. So it increases with size, fat or muscle. Is there any correlation between wrist size and arm size? Yes. I give a generic. This is a guideline, not a rule. If you want to know what your current arm size potential is at your wrist size, just take your wrist size and add 10 inches. That's at a reasonable body weight. If you're obese or morbidly obese, it could be up to 11 inches. So if your wrist is 7.25 and you're not obese, you got a pretty big bone structure. So you might be able to see 17.25 lean arms, maybe 17.5. So it's a good guideline. If you're obese, you could add 11 or 12 inches on there and see 18 or 19-inch arms. So that's a good guideline. Use a 10, 11, or 12 if you're really obese. Can natural athletes make big at pro levels? Bodybuilding? No. No, not
even close.
Go see a legit tested natural bodybuilding show and report back. The top competitors at the average body, height ranges 5'10", 5'11", 5'9", they're in their 170s. You might have one guy at like 181. Those are the top guys. The novice classes and the rest of the classes, they can be in the 150s to 169 on stage. Think about those weights for a moment, right? When's the last time any of you at 5'10" have weighed 165? So think about that. How long can I diet before I should take a break? There's no need to take a break. With that said, normal, healthy living, balanced living involves balance. So you're going to have a little bit of I hate cheat meals and I hate cheat days. Don't do a cheat day. Like me and my wife, if we want a little bit of cheesecake, we'll try a little bit of cheesecake. We don't generally eat the whole piece unless it's a birthday or special celebration. The idea that you need to take a break to reset hormones is a little bit overblown. There's my lovely
Got an
Australian
invader.
Good on you, mate. It's a little bit overblown and creates a lot of panic. Robert, could you maybe address the paranoia that if you don't take diet breaks, the wheels will fall off?
I think this probably comes mostly from like the physique competition side, where these people are at extremely low levels of body fat, and those are the individuals that will suffer diet fatigue, leptin resets, and all of that. So these people need to take breaks in order to reset leptin levels. Take a break from the extreme stress of like the mental stress from dieting, and also the physiological stress on the body from dieting to extremely low levels of body fat. For the average person or the obese individual, I really don't see the need to take a break from your diet. I mean, you took a break from eating properly for years and years and years to get overweight. So you don't need to worry about taking a diet break at that point.
I've definitely in coaching, I definitely see some weird things.
Yeah.
I've had over 400-pound guys that struggle to lose weight on 1,800 calories. Sometimes there's some weird things going on in the body, but if you're carrying around a lot of extra fat, you need to get that off, and you probably need to diet a little bit more aggressively than the bodybuilding world tells you to. So we're talking 3-4 pounds a week is probably a good goal. But most people I see struggle, most clients I see struggle with weight loss don't move enough. I got some clients that I want to check their pulse to see if they're dead, because it'll be like noon and I can see their tracker on my app and they only have like 178 steps. It's like, anybody home? Are you alive? Are you sitting on the couch? So be more concerned with activity, and you probably won't need a break. Thanks for the information. I'm at the end of a cut and was tossing up between recomping and lean bulking. Get all the fat off. If you're near the end of the cut, just run the extra mile and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Your take, receptor down regulations.
I'm not sure what he's asking.
Okay.
Let's. Can you give it to us in a more complete sentence? That might help. I don't understand what you're asking there.
Yeah, I don't either. In your opinion, is it better to keep adding reps to, say, 3 sets of 12 to 15 or increase the weight? You do them both. You first increase the reps and then you increase the weight, and then you increase the reps and then you increase the weight. So how you do that is a matter of personal preference.
Yeah, and also some exercises lend themselves better. I mean, it's going to be really hard to continuously add, go up 5 pounds on something like dumbbell lateral raises, to where you're going to need to chase 12, 15, 20 reps. And then maybe once you can get 3 sets of 15 reps, then you can jump to the next 5 pound thing. It's going to be very exercise dependent.
Yeah. I mean, on compound movements, you increase reps and then you increase weight, but once you get a lot of strength, reasonable strength levels, adding 1 rep can mean a 5 pound increase to your 1 rep max. So squeaking out reps can be difficult. So very difficult question to answer, but just think increase reps, increase weight, increase reps, increase weight. It's going to be different for every exercise. What's going on, Chris?
Boom.
Does cycling an hour a day take away from my leg gains? There's so much paranoia in the muscle building world. Do what you love to do. Do what you love to do. If you get your legs strong, you're going to build muscle size. If you want to cycle, then cycle. I really don't like the bodybuilding mindset where people are so paranoid that they don't want to do what they love. Go cycle and get your legs strong. Robert, anything to add?
I would only say that it depends on the intensity of your thing. I mean, if you're cycling so much or at such a high intensity, you're not able to create overload in your resistance training sessions, then yeah, cycling is taking away from your leg gains. But if you're just going for a leisurely way just to get exercise each day, like a low level form of cardio or just to get out of the house, and you're still able to progressively overload in your leg training sessions, then that's fine. The limiting factor is, are you able to induce overload in your resistance training sessions?
If you like to cycle, what I would suggest is taking 2 days off before you do leg day. Just allowing for some recovery so you're hitting it optimally. But that gives you 5 days a week to cycle.
Right. Replenish glycogen stores too and all that good stuff.
I don't run the day before I do legs. So what's up, Chris? Chris got a question coming up here soon. Robert, did you get a chance to read the new Thrawn book?
No, I have not. I have not read any of the new Star Wars stuff since all the expanded universe stuff got made canon. So no, I don't know if I'm actually going to read it or not.
Yari, is full body 5 times a week with a reasonable volume okay? I have a program on my website called The Drunk Russian, and I use this for about 6 months, where I do 1 to 2 sets per body part per day. I would cycle different exercise. I was fine. So yeah, it can be done. Excuse me. Is it the golden path to gains? No, but it's a fun way to train. You gotta balance volume and intensity and everything. So you really want to chill on the volume without overdoing the volume. I don't know what I got here. Maybe COVID. Top insulin mimickers.
I'm going to assume, Chris, you're asking about like glucose disposal agents or glucose utilization agents and not actually, injectable insulin, which we're not going to discuss on the channel. A few of my favorites that I like Pump Dirt by Innova Farm. I like Glycophase by SNS. Primalog by Primeval is not too shabby. I like the original formula better because I had a hand in developing that one. I think it was a more well-rounded formula. Let's see. Those are my top 2. Those are the ones I usually go with. Humuslan by Condemned Labs isn't too bad. There was another one. An old Blackstone Labs one was pretty good. I don't remember the name. Glycolog, I think, is what it was. That's not too bad. But for individual ingredients, I like berberine, agmatine. Alpha-lipoic acid is good. Bitter melon's okay. It's not one I would definitely use around, but I like berberine a lot.
Thank you, sir. All right. Do you think we should, for example, stick to 15 sets per week per muscle, or like Dr. Mike says, start with a maintenance volume and add sets through a mesocycle? I'm going to tell something that most people don't want to hear. Most of y'all don't need a mesocycle. Most of y'all haven't built enough strength. Most of y'all haven't mastered the basics to need a mesocycle. And that sounds like arrogant, buffoonery, but it's really true. People chasing mesocycles, microcycles, exercise variations. The heart of this channel is trying to get you guys up and running. Most of you guys do not need a mesocycle, okay? Most of you guys need to get your dumbbell overhead presses to 80s for reps. So at that point, if you want to mess around with stuff, great. Me and Dr. Mike agree on a lot of stuff, but it has to be in context. Are you running? First you crawl, then you walk, then you run, then you sprint. Where are you in that, where are you in that world? Where are you in that, progression scheme? So many people come to me worrying about mesocycles and should I do halting deadlifts? A lot of this has to do with context. Where are you? Have you mastered the basics? Have you applied the basics? Can you bench press 225 by 5, right? If not, you really don't need to be worrying about any of this. So it's a very difficult question to answer. Robert, anything to add?
Nope. You crushed that one, Steve.
Don't overthink things until you've built a good strength base. Jerry Cherry, in an attempt to cure would have been more than 200 characters. So I'm glad you got the meaning. Okay.
That was a sleeping question. Yeah, I was just fucking with you, Jerry. That's all.
We're just playing. Sometimes our brains get mashed for 2 hours during this. So sometimes.
Yeah. I'm a very sarcastic and dry wit person by nature, so I never mean anything to come off as if it comes across like I'm being a dick or something. That's not my intention. I'm very sarcastic.
None your business. I asked you about my back injuries. I found Ben a physical therapist. I found a physical therapist that is a weightlifter. After an in-depth evaluation, today will be the first day doing light compound lifts with him. I'm glad you found a therapist that is a lifter, because many clients come to me that have seen a regular doctor and they give them the strangest advice. Like I had a new client recently in the last 2 weeks whose doctor, who weighs over 400 pounds, his doctor told him to take a break from losing weight. Like, I asked him what the reason was. And, when you're 400 pounds, you don't need to take a break from losing weight, because if not, you're going to take a break from living. That's a dangerous level to be at. So sometimes doctors say crazy things. It's always good to get and doctors tend to tell you to stop lifting no matter what. That's always the solution. Stop lifting. Stop being active. Like, I hate that stuff. I hate it. It's better to see somebody that wants to show you how to continue to move. And that's just my opinion. Do you know why sometimes my legs feel very heavy and tired? Because they're tired. I don't know. Robert?
Could be you're not sleeping well, you're not eating enough protein or carbohydrates maybe. Could be you've just been on your feet all day. Could be too much training volume, poor recovery, not enough rest. It could be a bunch of different things. It's a multifaceted issue.
Chris, I apologize for sounding dismissive, but as someone that runs and is very active, some days my legs just feel heavy.
Yeah.
No reason at all. I mean, there's so many mechanisms and things going on in the body that it's really impossible to say. It really is. And people will, she ate all of her treats. And people will sometimes say, I went into the gym, and my legs felt heavier. I felt off, and then I crushed PRs. So don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. And always see how you feel during your warm-up sets. Anonymous Z responded to Jay with A. You might have to scroll back in the video to figure out what I meant. Team SP. And it's down regulates androgen receptors. Need to know your point of view.
Again, I don't understand what you're asking. What's down regulating the androgen receptors? What is?
Joy Pass, what's your opinion on Greg O'Gallagher, Kino Body? I have no opinion on other people. I really don't give a shit.
No. He appeals to a certain demographic, and that's about it.
I'm not being dismissive. I don't watch his channel. Nope. And I don't have time to analyze the content or lifestyle choices of other people, nor do I particularly give a fat fuck. Just being honest, just being real. I don't care what other people do. If there's a specific piece of advice that he gives out, only do 6 reps on Tuesday in red shorts, then I'd be willing to, have an opinion on it. Should I take BCAAs?
Not if only if you're not consuming enough protein during the day, and at that point, I would say go for an EAA formula over BCAAs. It's going to cost the exact same amount of money most of the time, and you're getting the other 6 essential amino acids needed to support protein synthesis. So only if you're not getting enough BCAAs. I'm sorry, only if you're not getting enough protein. If you're consuming enough protein a day, which is around 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight per day, then no, you don't need BCAAs.
All right, we got 2 more questions to go, Robert, and then we're off. Same gentleman says, would like to show you my physique on Instagram as I want to win Classic Physique Olympia. As much as we'd like to, appreciate your results, there's not much we can do to, help you at that level. That's not our niche. So if you want to share your progress with the community, great. No problem at all. You can send us a link on Instagram. We'd be happy to, take a look, but there's nothing we can do to help you particularly to get to that level. Last question. I need help with technique. Lindsay, if you need help with technique, I'd be glad to give you a quick look. You can head over to Instagram, send a video at Ben the Barman, at Ben the Barman. If you want a full critique, that's a service I provide over on my website. We done. We made it. I just want to thank everybody for all the questions. We appreciate you guys tuning in each week. We're here every Friday at 11 a.m. If we miss your question, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman or at the Supplement Engineer. And we got a couple last minute notes. Okay. I had questions on natural prep. I'm a natural athlete. I'd be glad to help you out if you need coaching or further advice. You can send me questions at my Instagram. I got stretch marks doing weight exercises, but not with weights, but I'm getting stronger. Stretch marks come with size increases. So it's a complicated question. They always come with size increases, rapid size increases generally. If you're not getting them with weights, perhaps you already increased your size. But just to get them with body weight exercise, extremely, extremely rare. You may have been extremely on the small side. Really hard to say. Yeah. Okay, I'm beyond that. Thanks, guys. All right, Robert. Appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye, Steve.
Bye now.